Another one, penmanship. I hang suspended between two worlds, no longer at home in either. For though I learned the Potter-Palmer way to write in school, on rough line paper with, slant lines to guide the verticals, my penmanship has been corrupted by the ballpoint pen. The ballpoint pen and felt-tip flare have jettisoned calligraphy, east and west. No one handwrites anymore. No one looks things up. They check their phones, their tablets, the world in their pockets, available with a touch. Yet I still write on legal pads, like the act of giving life to words with my own hand, of sensing them grow in power as I put them down, change them, move them around. I still look up words in dictionaries. I will never, ever be fluent in technology. I have no machete to navigate the password jungle. So here I hang, suspended between two worlds, looking wistfully at the beautiful letters John Adams sent to Abigail while trying to open my email. About the paintings this winter. The first one is called Aire y Luna. In Rosendo Pinacho's painting, a warm orange moon sinks into the textured blue of a morning sea, bright with horizontal bands of light as three canoes, two yellow, one white, glide into a variegated future. The painter recreates a time when canoes were newly carved, when hope rode through enchanting blue, when dreams propelled the journey, when people paddled hopefully into morning, the story of discovery beginning. In the courtyard of a San Miguel antique shop, a row of canoes, improbably long, leans against a wall, far from any sea, dried out remnants of a long ago migration, the story of discovery concluding. Rosendo Pinacho's paintings, it's called Espacio con Sandia, space with watermelon. A semblance of a clock, mottled color, scumbles of pink and white on a blue ground. At the bottom, a slice of watermelon, crudely drawn, a goblet without a stem, a chalice with seeds. I try to find meaning there, and in the red vertical worm shapes, the blue one crawling across the middle. I struggle. Then read the fine print under the title of Pinacho's painting, which tells me it is high fire ceramic. He is painting a little piece of folk art, probably sitting on a shelf in his studio, like the oranges in Cézanne's studio in Aix-en-Provence, replaced daily now, so when you visit, it is as though Cézanne has just stepped out for lunch. Will return any minute to finish the still life waiting on the easel. If you find yourself in Oaxaca visiting Pinacho's studio when he goes to lunch, you will see first the table with a big canvas. He prefers working this way. Paint, of course, and brushes. Now look for the little watermelon slice and the clock, which keeps dropping its numbers all over the floor, and the wooden canoe he loves to put in his paintings. Little pieces of his immediate world, anchors in the flow and flux of the act of painting. France on a painting sabbatical. Well, that is where I first saw a field of poppies and wrote this little poem. A burst of poppies surprised the morning as though the color red exploded in the night, scattering bits of itself over the field that was all green just yesterday. Joy What is an adequate metaphor for joy? My delight at the sight plunged me into the midst of red. I rolled over and over as bits of crimson silk tickled my legs, found their way into my pockets, into my sketchbook, and into the treasure chest of my heart. I walk where each step releases fragrance of rosemary. You can't help crushing it. It is a living carpet beneath your feet, time to the mixture, a heady one, erasing rational thought. To walk there is to let your life swing wide open. Allow the hot Provençal sun to burn away heartache, scald longing, until the blister of desire stops stinging, until you wear new skin, tan, smooth, supple, as you stride out along the mountain path. Up to the stone quarry, domed like a beehive, built by a peasant uncounted years ago. A broken cup, tiny remnant of his living there, all that tells you about his life alone, tending goats or sheep in this perfumed wilderness. With cup in hand, you share his blessed peace, and you are not alone. On the end of a stick, no more wrinkles after just 1 week. Invest in this magical cream in a small frosted jar with a golden top. Return to a time when alabaster skin was a lure and you were sure that romance and a perfect life would be yours. Goya's etching of an old hag trying on a hat in front of a mirror shouts across time that this longing is built into the X chromosome. A huge cosmetic industry depends on it. And I remember one day visiting a sculptor in the south of France, a widow, as old then as I am now, her hair gray, flying in all directions, wearing an old ragged sweater that had been her husband's. We went out to the yard, wild with the scent of rosemary and thyme, to see her latest work. But she called us back into the shadowy kitchen, wanted only to share the wonder of her latest joy, a tiny jar of wrinkle cream. Her photographs and her prose. Libby is completing an MFA in creative writing at the University of Arkansas. Libby.
Start with a poem from our book. It's a poem in 3 parts, and I took a line from poet Pauline Murray, and her line is, "And dead leaves rattle in the graveyards." This is a poem about my hometown, a poem about what it's like growing up there, and about Evergreen, that was our cemetery starting back just after the Civil War. Part 1. A look over my shoulder. Yesterday, our place was east of East Avenue. Our place began at 7th Street and stretched out to Mena Road and over to Airport Boulevard. We were told this patch was our place just before the Great Depression. Rosewood Park was our place to swim. I began 1st grade at Blackshear School. Friendly Rice was my principal. He lived with his wife, Johnny May, and his daughter, Bonnie, on 7th Street. In 1930, Friendly and Johnny May bought their first house with $3,000 borrowed from his parents. They could not buy a house on the other side of East Avenue. Tillotson College was our place on the hill. Mama coached basketball there. On San Bernard, Daddy brought babies into the world at his clinic. Mama and I lived upstairs. Mama crossed East Avenue to shop at Safeway. Our next door neighbors were Ada and Andy and their kids Sandra and Jackie. My dentist was Dr. Hammond. He lived across the street. He and his school teacher wife were called High Yellow by some folks. She and Mama and Ada dressed in tailored suits they could not try on at the fancy downtown stores. Dr. Mitchell lived on San Bernard too. He offered a room to a young lawyer named Thurgood, who pushed open the doors of a law school across town. Saturday was bridge club day for Mama and my day for dancing school. I learned tap with Minnie and Carolyn and other little girls in a pine, stinky nursery school. Saturday night was polka night for Daddy. Sunday was church for everybody. I sang in the choir at Wesley Chapel, a place of worship, a place of sanctuary from another century. Mama wore blue taffeta and Daddy wore a midnight black tux where they danced to the beat of the Patterson brothers at the Kappa fraternity dances. Roy Patterson taught music at Keeling Junior High and Elvin Patterson taught at Anderson Senior High. I played glockenspiel at the high school Yellow Jacket Band. The school where Yellow Jackets thrived closed 46 years ago. The Patterson brothers rest on the sloping hills of Evergreen. Part 2, today. I return to a place I hardly know. Bonnie Rice leaves the house on 7th Street. She packs up Johnny May's treasures. The tastefully painted cups and saucers are still cherished. She donates a faded set of encyclopedias to Goodwill. The books of Friendly Rice go to the History Center of our city's library. The old house on 7th Street has a date with the racking ball. I drive by my family's house on San Bernard Street, now wide and always free of potholes. Houses built in the 20s and 30s line this historic district. Betty Stanton lives on a four-corner. I stopped by her house to visit her yard sale. She has the same wide-mouthed grin from our days in Yellow Jacket Band. Wesley Chapel is at the other end of the street. A small crowd gathers under dark clouds. They erect a historical marker to recall the lynching of 3 men at that place in 1894. I drive around the corner to 11th Street. Hillside Pharmacy now occupies the place where Dr. Ward ran Hillside Pharmacy. The cafe retains the tiles, the floors, the dark cabinets where instruments and bowls used decades ago gather dust. I sit below a now cloudless, dry sky and enjoy a salad of fresh green butter lettuce and yellow tomatoes. The smoky scent of brisket drifts up the street from Mickelwait's. Sweetness and bitterness radiate all around me. I drive west on 11th Street. Charlie's Playhouse is no more. Across the street, the drugstore and the cab stand have vanished. The soaring moonlight tower endures. Our town has the few moonlight towers that exist today. I continue toward Old East Avenue, now a highway. I drive into the far west of the city, now sprawling out into surrounding tiny towns. Ada now lives far from San Bernard. Andy, Sandy, and Jackie are gone. Ada greets me at the door with a walker. I speak loudly. Her children smile back at me from her sitting room walls. Part 3, tomorrow. Vonnie Rice will live in the far north of our town. I will grow old with her and Ada and Minnie and Carolyn, who still lives in our place. We have no children to walk forward with us. I will have no children to tell of the place where 3 men died long before their time. The place we called home will not rise again. I will never live on San Bernard Street again. I will not forget the sidewalk where I learned to ride a bike. I will point out the house where Thurgood Marshall wrote a brief. I will write of the times when Dr. Hammond's Cadillac had huge fins. My memories will become tales I will read out loud. Yesterday's tragedies, our separate places, and its glow of lives enduring will be heard in rustling leaves in evergreen. Sally Kravitz. She's been a resident of San Miguel for the past decade and a half. Sally is the author of Ethel Ennis, The Reluctant Jazz Star, the biography of Baltimore jazz legend, and also Sally has authored 2 photo books, Street Walk, Mexico City, and Afternoon in the Drawing Room, Sitges, Barcelona. Her poetry is included in Solamente in San Miguel, Volume 3. Sally is a member of the Poetry Cafe Advisory Board.
Thank you all for coming. I know there's so many things going on tonight. I'm going to start with a poem from the little book. It's a little poem from the little book. Fall and the Butterfly. I opened the front door to my casa on San Jorge and stepped lightly onto uneven, rocky cobblestones. My eyes quickly sweep the scene, front, back, side to side, middle, back, and front again. A stalker I've become, shopping for images, for my camera, for my pen, for my legacy. On this particular sunny autumn afternoon, I take a momentary stumble on broken concrete sidewalk. A lone butterfly rests on yellow textured wall, flutters round me, and lands in my upturned hand. How many people know about Billy Collins? Have you ever heard of Billy Collins? If you haven't, go to Google and find out about Billy and read one of his poems. You'll fall in love. This is called The Universe That Billy Built. If you ever see a squirrel in Palermo running across steamy summer streets, and if he suddenly launches into an aria so melancholy and sung with such passion that you're unable to tear yourself away, or if you hear a rendition of Art Blakey's Three Blind Mice blaring, and you notice a man chopping onions and parsley in his kitchen while he ponders about the little rodents and their blind fate and how they got that way, and worse, how they have to suffer through life with tails chopped off by the hand of a farmer's wife. Or if you ever trudge through snow-packed streets, bundled tight like the precious babe on that silent night, and you come upon 2 men shoveling snow, and you clearly recognize that one of them, nearly hidden away in an oversized, puffy winter coat, is the Buddha, and you can hear him say, as gentle as a child would, "Can we go inside and play cards after the snow is cleared?" If you travel there, then you will know that you have meandered through, been witness to, a world where squirrels can sing, grown men can weep, and the Buddha can shovel snow and play. That's the gift of Billy's world. The page itself appears so light, but Watch the alchemy. Deep down inside, where gut meets heart, that's where the truth explodes. Was inspired by a trip to Copper Canyon. It is partially fiction. I have to say that because it doesn't take place really in the present. It's called Rebirth, Pending, Ode to the Tarahumara people, Copper Canyon, Mexico. Before now, earlier, before they made false islands in the middle of the sea and forced our homes upon them, we lived among the mountains and walked upon cool trails where we learned to teach our feet to feel the heartbeat of our beloved Mother Earth. We would lay down then in cool shade of 100 leafy trees and wonder when they'd come again, the bloated bubble dwellers who gloated with such glee as they mocked and wrecked our freedoms. Quickly we would shift our view toward other vistas we could find, like jagged red rock canyons where caves and caverns hide. Home to our stalwart native people, whose ancestral spirits gone still live on. Hardy souls who taught us to run through mountain rubble, water baskets on our head, make tortillas on open fires, and sleep in starlit beds where now we dream about the world ahead and hear the spirits say, "You are joined so firmly to the earth that on that day you will be the ones to spring up whole and bring forth the next new beings who will grow the next new earth." Thank you, Maya. This next one was inspired by Dia de los Muertos. It's called Post-Mortem, Dia de los Muertos, San Miguel de Allende. In the Pantheon, all is silent. After last night's vigil, feasting, drinking, laughing around candlelit graves with the departed and each other, families have returned home. As sun begins to rise, lingering traces come into view: an empty tequila bottle, some leftover oranges, a soggy pack of cigarettes, simple testaments to time well spent. Touched by sweet breezes, loose petals from white calla lilies, purple coxcombs, and golden marigolds dance across graves, onto grass, and under trees into outstretched hands of Our Lady of Guadalupe and the beloved Jesus. At noon, thousands of golden blooms, like tiny specks of glistening sun, rise upward toward the heavens. Blue ribbons trail their stems for spirits to grab onto, to ease their long journey back to realms unknown. As the spectacle fades behind dark clouds, lightning flashes, thunder bellows, torrential rains beat down. Abrupt outpouring jars memories of the day we passed through gates of Auschwitz. Someone, barely heard against the din, whispered, "These must be the tears of God." Dear world, thanks for the email letting me know of your fundraising campaign to equalize world wealth and peace. So sorry to let you know that recently I have grown into a Latter-day Cynic. So I am not eager to give you my time or money. I am among the wounded. I have given up any belief in my government, its judgment and ability to care for us, and especially for my aging generation. In fact, it looks like our leaders have set in motion plans to hasten our demise. If you read the news, you know what I mean. If my heart is crying, does that help yours? But world, since you put the challenge before me, I do have to ask myself, what would I give up? Would I give up anything? My books, cameras, photography, writing, house and belongings, family, friends, food, occasional hair, and many petty appointments. And if I would it help? But world, do you remember the news photo a few years back of the small boy washed ashore and lying at the edge of a beach, drowned as his family fled Syria? Had I been on that boat that day, I would have grabbed 3-year-old Alan Curdy in my arms and saved him. And if for some reason my foot got caught in a riptide once he was saved, so be it. Sincerely yours. A little exercise playing around with words and ideas, things you do in poetry class, an exercise in gratitude. I am full. My heart is full of the fragrance of jasmine on the vine and the sound of wind chimes tinkling in C major on my rooftop. I am full. My eyes are full of days on the Severn and sailboats and fantasies of soaking in a hot tub while riding in a cable car to the top of Mount Fuji. I am full. My taste buds are full of watermelon balls soaked in raspberry vodka and scooped with a silver spoon from a copper bowl made in ancient Persia. I am full. My dreams are full of a magic carpet ride through floaty clouds and teal blue skies over landscapes in Cappadocia. I am full of happiness, remembering ocean waves skirting the Atlantic shore as I sit in the glory of a rainstorm. Another rainy day. Writer Paul. She splits living between North Carolina, mountains, and those of San Miguel. Recently, Kristen had one of her poems chosen as one of 10 finalists in the North Carolina Poetry Society's Poet Laureate Contest. Another poem, Moon Poem number 3, Full Leo Moon, has been awarded an honorable mention in the Alice Osborne Award Contest and will be published in the Society's annual anthology, Pine Song. Kristen currently has a chapbook in the works. Kristen.
This first poem was inspired by a poet who was writing about craft and his interest in what he called stand-up poetry, or also known as accessible poetry. Sort of like he's a contemporary of Billy Collins, that thought process in poetry. And the name of the piece is Because of an Essay by Charles Harper Webb. What if I must drink wine to make a poem, but first read an essay from another poet about writing accessible poems with enough mystery to scramble the brain to the right, make a right turn to the unconscious, make a new discovery even to myself? What if I feel incompetent, not up to the request nobody is making, except by listening or not? Except an inner poison ivy needs scratching to spread. I won't soothe it with calamine, calm the mind. Let it become a fever bubble of waking and weeping and peeling to uncover. A back pocket dial to the muse, a long recording without my knowing. Not too poised, allow underbrush, low culture, blue collar, sweat stains. Turn the hieroglyphs into Easter Island monoliths. Big stones can't be missed, but invite you in to move in their circle. Stand, be sunbathed or moonbathed. This is what I want to write. An offering of night constellated alignment, a suggestion of our place. I hear the tapping. I carry my gratitude in a rusty tin bucket, leak a trail of surplus from the cracked bottom. My bed, warm, plates of food to make, too used to comfort to take an actual detour. One away from comfort, stranded, against so much need out there, but not at my door, only heard or read about. My complicity, a siren's call, in all that is used or spoiled to bring me comfort. But I live far from the sea, the echoed wash of waves, distant as shell to ear, and the siren's fin is caught under an island of plastic. She sings in pleading tones, holds herself up, elbows resting on webbed waist. Meanwhile, I hold myself up. A plastic avoider, recycler, voter, garden grower, goodwill shopper. But still the bucket fills and spills my detritus. Scared to give away too much, afraid to become who I donate to, insulated like warm socks between cold soles. So I give away handmade soap, wrapped in poems, and make soup. Decide what I can do next without losing too much. I took the rural route, which is a little hard to say, rural route. The way back, I took the rural route. The back way to the VA hospital on Highway 115, past Needmore Road, Harmony, and Cool Springs, where Nancy's Snack Shop welcomes truckers on a faded road sign, and Jesus is all you need under praying hands at the dingy The Truth and the Way chapel. Thank you, Jesus, painted wide brush yellow on dilapidated shed doors. Someone or something has fallen into a state of disrepair, yet thankful. We saw each other for an instant. A silver-haired woman turned from her mailbox, mouth folded in like an apple doll. A taxidermy sign nailed to a tree is crooked without hope of a fox to stuff and display in the neighbor's den. Although there may still be dens in the neat clapboard homes I pass. Imagine a dusty raccoon on the mantle, sooty paws forever in mid-stride. In a field, 2 Adirondack chairs face sunset behind a brick ranch, and a bucket truck is parked down the road. Expectant crane fully extended, aerial platform empty, like my reaching arms. I've missed something and can't get it back. Stands of mill pines sandwich a precise cut field of electric towers, like Amish giants with skirts and bonnets march, hold sagging jump rope wires into a vanishing point. Farmed fields, 2 phallic silos protrude some distance from squat water tanks' nippled roofs. It will always start with a field, seed and water, phallus and nipples, fertilize and feed. This is a Bach poem, the form, and this is a glimpse of the last trip with my father to Apalachicola, Florida, which is a place we often went. The fault of an absent moon. Our last trip to be with him by the sea, enough of us were on the porch to witness a bright object moving through black sky at impossible angles, zip raced in space, tracing a new constellation to look up to, follow him by, our Odin on watch, at the rented beach house among his fallen stars. And we circled around him all week. Evenings we passed bottles and cigarettes beside the sizzle spark bonfire. Sister, so drunk one night, lost her pants squatting in the dark waves to pee. The fusion of togetherness ignited amygdalas kindling, blew across the beach, each gritty grain of sand a crazy-making rain, hitting skin, exciting neurons. And we circled around him all week. Everything unsaid or heard too often shouted out of our mouths, echoed toward the deck. Reverb sounded like a fight or a party or a death. He sat, dry and smokeless, listening to his progeny, beached, their sonar out of whack. And devoted on WordPress, believe it or not, .com. And in Norse mythology, Odin can visit hell and return alive. So, a little part of that, a little fact there. This is a piece that was referred to in my little bio that Sally just read, and it's called In Healing the Wounded. Who made us, ferried across from wholeness? This clan of wounded, all our precious feet turning through interstellar matter. Who blankets our scars in so much webbing as to strengthen, cover, bring two sides together? As we mouth words of open, of tender, of I expected to walk without a stick. Like clumsy beetles, pick our way through green blades and Joe Pye weed. Remarkably, we arrive in milkweed fields. Like mariposas, we suckle the pink clusters rooted in earth, green stem a straw, a long throat of rescue. This is from our book. And this was, this is a short narrative poem, and it's based on an assignment by a teacher and a wonderful poet called Cecilia Wallach. And I took her workshop last year, so this is a little assignment. It's called After I Die. I want to be noise, booming Tibetan longhorns fly me beyond the Himalayas, back to my mother's sloshing womb. Clanging cathedral bells, displacing thoughts of those on the ground. I want Hafiz poems and dancing to Lila Downs at my flame and petal-adorned grave. A chair will face my mirrored headstone for each to sit. I will ride a mossy ferry bed to foreign lands, loved ones whooshing wings by my side. I will finally know the answer. Then I will be the mockingbird song from a bush by a beach bench where a lonely body sits, a fallen birch blocking a dangerous path, and oranges pregnant with sun. My juice, moments of sweetness on dry tongues. And from each of our three absent members who sadly had returned to the U.S., they're dearly missed, and they are Beth Spencer, Nan Williamson, and Bernadine Lortis. And Sally's the first reader.
It was really Beth's idea to do the book. She didn't know what she was getting into. We were all spread out all over, everywhere, and she was trying to put it all together in her house in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. She's published 2 poetry books, Mildor and C- in Conduct. Her poetry, it's true, right? Right. She left a friend behind to spy on us, make sure we represent her well. Anyway, her poetry has appeared in a wealth of publications, including Oasis, Solamente and San Miguel, Martin Lake Poetry Journal, and in several online journals. Recently, a poem was selected for an artist-poet collaboration at the Crossings at Carnegie in Zumbrota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Zumbrota. I don't know where it is. Anyway, this one is great for spring. It's called Fusion. All day I hear the music born within the salmon walls, coming from a garden where bougainvillea, defecting from its square of earth, climbs even the stairs, even the sky, where fat and languid beads, helicopter bodies, great balloons of black and gold, no hurried rush to nectar, strolled the flowered honey from inside the yawning faces of hibiscus. In March, when jacaranda blooms, low clouds of palest lavender, they kill the need to wander to another place, even to the lemon tree, even to the perfect sweet plumeria. Music makes of us the lyrics to a song where no one is unwelcome. Open your ears, those levers, to your eyes. Let the people come to focus. Quite easily, they shift from strangers to beloveds whose raucous hearts want everything. Feel the succor of deep knowing. You are part of an enormous truth. Feel yourself united in the jumble of the world, the very fusion that you wanted. No Xerox version of another, but the yes of you in concert. Let music in, undo, release your zippered heart.
Nan Williamson is not in the book. She didn't come last year, but she came this year. So I have one of her poems. She's an artist and poet from Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. She graduated from the Humber School of Creative Writing in Toronto. Her poems have been published in numerous literary journals in Canada and the UK. Her chapbook, Leave the Door Open for the Moon, was published by Jackson Creek Press in 2015. She looks forward to her return each January to San Miguel and her beloved poets group. We're lucky to have Nan too. Her poem is entitled Surprised by Joy. Early this morning, barbaric ice crazed the window in the parlor, your bedroom, when you came to us to die. The shadows of the blackbird crossed it, to and fro. One shadow traced loss, the other sorrow. I can't stop the clocks or cut off the phone, still less put out the stars, the sun, and the moon. I'm not one like Auden, who thinks the world should stop for him. I don't have that sway. I listen to another voice and give in to unexpected moments of delight. Sun rays striking blue bottles, dancing, crystal goblets, stems up on a red linen towel. The parlor faces south. Late morning sun warms the frosted window. Drops of water trickle down like tears. Not black shadows now. Still, I hear Auden's passion, inconsolable grief.
Our other member who had to leave us is Bernadine Lourdes, who hails from St. Paul, Minnesota. She has written secret and sporadically for years, but only since June 2016 did she begin seriously writing and submitting. Since then, in that short span of time, Bernie has had fiction, creative nonfiction, flash fiction, and poetry published in over 20 online journals and anthologies. She asked me to read this poem, which is in our book, called After Hours. Years past retirement, he opened early this morning as he does each day, although there is not much for him to do, while former employees smile and humor him as he feigns to oversee the merchandise. But now, alone at last, he has the floor again. Reigns as before, each aisle his own, as he clutches the old mannequin next to his body, her padded, placid face cradled close against his grizzled neck. They sway as one, to daydream refrains of jazz infused with sobs from the moaning sax, lingering lament for long-lost lovemaking, the kind that meant something special. But she's always been there, standing in and standing up for him when his wife brought him down for too much hope, too much drink, too slight success. Rough palms trace aged wood as grain against growing. He glides, soothed, imagines a forest thick with aspen trees, their gold and green and gold coins, the solid trunk from which a carver brought her into being. Gives thanks she stays hidden from recycling raids behind painted plastic models, favored now for flatter, girlish forms. How his old heart halts as he abandons her to the cold metal chair behind his desk, crosses hinged legs, places each limb where she'll feel most secure, grabs his long brown overcoat and hat, turns once more to check on her, comes back to tie his blue plaid scarf in a bow that shields her breasts, before he turns off the glaring workroom light and hurries to catch the last bus on route number 6, its doors yielding wide to seize and hold, endlessly opening and closing.